You have been besieged America by haters of America for 7 years. But I, the Lord God, will take you out of your besiegement. And so far, we know the math is dead on perfect because we saw what happened on July 4th with all the mainstream media going anti-Biden. Okay, so far the math is perfect. And now we need to watch what transpires in the next 45 days into August 17th. But August 17th, a new window of time begins. When we start this next 7-year window, the middle of August onwards, nothing they do will work, and everything they're doing will continue to blow up in their face, fall apart. And that's why we're going to head ultimately into, I believe, what Kim Clement prophesied is they fall and fall. God's about to intervene. That means what? Earthquakes. I have high probability of large earthquakes, global, hitting for sure, I would say very high probability in the month of August. So earthquakes, volcanoes, eruptions. Actually, that also correlates with the Kim Clement prophecy. And what did he say? Summer will be the mediator between spring and fall, but summer brings the two E's for Edward. So what are the 2 E's? Earthquakes and eruptions.
Live from America's heartland, this is the Daily Truth Report with your host, Noah Christopher.
Hey, welcome back to the show, everybody, and welcome to Strange July. We've got Bo POLNY back with us to break it all down. Bo, welcome back to the show.
Thanks, Noah. God bless. And yes, exciting times. And I do truly believe we are at a very important time point, and we'll explain that relative to scriptures in a few minutes in this podcast.
Yeah, that's great. Well, speaking of that, I know these clips always get shared and clipped up and passed around online. So I always like to say we're talking today on July 10th, 2024. A key moment of time, as Bo said. You're going to see that in just a moment. I also always like to take a quick look. We're going to talk about crypto and Bitcoin here in just a little bit, but Bitcoin's sitting at about 57,500. So we'll continue to watch that. We've got some big updates for you. Stick around, and in just a little bit, we'll talk about Bitcoin and stock market and all that type of stuff, because we are in quite a moment here. But well, Bo, let me get it over to you. You've got some great new updates for us. We just passed July 4th. That was a moment that you were watching. I don't know that we got the big moment where we had Ruth Bader Ginsburg dying on exactly that day. But wow, talk about that time period kicking off something wild. It was before that Joe Biden was the candidate, and he was running for a second term, and they just did a $28 million celebrity fundraiser for him, and he's just the best thing out there. And then all of a sudden, the July 4th time period hits, and now he's everyone's calling for him to step down. Even George Clooney today, I saw just before we got on, Bo, George Clooney, who did that big celebrity fundraiser for him just a few weeks ago, raised $28 million. Now he's saying Joe Biden has to step down. So from that moment in time that you told us to watch when you were on a couple weeks ago, the whole world has changed. So with that, let me just kick it over to you. I'll pull your slides up. Walk us through it. It's pretty crazy.
Right. And so, we live in not political times, we live in biblical times. I love stating that phrase because it's so important. And if we are truly living in biblical times, things should be happening at specific time points. I'm going to repeat that. If we're living in truly biblical times, we should be able to read scriptures. We should be able to pull out scriptures that reference time points, which we're going to do in a second. And you'll begin to see that all of this is not random. It's actually happening in perfect timelines and perfect windows of time. So if we go to the Biden presidency, if you can clip on to page, I think it was page 4, have a look at the Daniel cycle. And it talks about in Daniel 12, verse 7. I'm going to repeat this, and I want to read this to you. It says, "It will be." Okay, so it can be whatever you want it to be, meaning it could be a good thing or a bad thing. And an example of that was when Jesus's ministry began. Okay, it was a good thing because Jesus got baptized. At that moment in time, started the clock, and then that went for 3.5 years, 1,260 days, and then he died on the cross. They killed him on the cross, and then we have the resurrection. But for 3.5 years, it was the greatest time point in human history. Now I'm going to talk about one of worst time points in human history is the past 3.5 years. Okay. So if we take the it and we apply the it to the Biden presidency, let's take the time and look at the calculations on it. So if you click the page below on page 5, what you're going to see here is something really, really wild. So you've got January 20th of the year 2021 was the inauguration for Biden. And that created the it. So it was the Biden presidency. Well, if the calculation's true, then the Biden presidency needs to come to an end on or about the beginning of July. The calculation, 1,260 days, was July 4th. Fascinating. Now, the cycle of Daniel doesn't really end until you add another 45 days to it, and then it starts over again on August 17th. So please look at the cycle of time. This is not me guessing. This is literally out of the scriptures, and this is how the Daniel cycle's written out. So I'm not using, and I'm taking the cycle of end times of Daniel, and I'm applying it to the presidency. I hope that makes sense. So if we, again, from the Biden inauguration, 1,260 days, it says, it shall, let me read the scripture actually. It says, it will be for a time, times, and a half a time. So a time is 360 days or a year, times and a half a time. When he shall have accomplished to scatter the power of the holy people. Interesting. All of these things shall be, here it is, finished. Okay. So all of what they planned with the Biden presidency should be finished at the end of the 1,260 days. Well, lo and behold, what happened? Literally, you're right. As of June, everybody's rah, rah, joy, joy, Biden's number one, right? The mainstream media at least was saying that, right? And starting July 1st into the 4th, holy mackerel, what happened, right? Well, literally on the 31st, Trump won that Supreme Court ruling which literally starts to destroy these people in all of their lawfare attacks. And then by the 4th, mainstream media is all jumping against Biden, saying they got to get him out. And so we're watching this cycle play out right in front of us. You can't deny that this is happening.
It was crazy, but I mean, it turned on a dime, like overnight. And you're right, it was two events. It was, of course, the debate, but then it was also that Supreme Court ruling, and they happened back to back. And it was just like someone flipped a switch, and here we are. And the switch that was flipped is we hit your time period.
Right. That's the point I'm trying to make. It's not my time period, which, I know what you're saying, but God laid out the timelines. He wrote the end from the beginning, and all of which is happening is in his perfect timing. And all I'm doing is trying to illustrate to the world how awesome his perfect timing is, right? This is perfect timing. And so when you run the Daniel cycle, you're right. It's like a little switch was flipped right around July 3rd, 4th, because the calculation was 3rd into the 4th. It's insanity, but it happened. And we're now go turn on any news media station right now, and all of the left is literally anti-Biden. It's crazy, but none of this started until July 3rd, 4th. So all of the cycles began. Now we got to continue with the Daniel cycle because it's a 45-day window to complete the 7-year cycle.
Well, and Bo, before you even go on to that, one more thing on July 4th. We covered that pretty extensively. We were, of course, watching it really closely because of your what you told us last time you were on the show. But I was seeing a lot of very credible sources saying Biden was going to step down on July 4th, and I think that was a plan, and I think he just refused to do it. But it very closely did happen that he almost stepped down exactly on that day, and I think he just continues to be obstinate and refuse to do anything. But very, very interesting. We those sources were very credible, and I was surprised when he didn't step down literally on that day.
Well, and even that, it's irrelevant to the point of did he step down or did he not? What's relevant is that all of mainstream media flipped on him.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that's the critical aspect because it did happen. Now we've got this 45-day window. You can also run this calculation of time, times, and a half a time, because let's say you're using the Gregorian calendar. Well, the Gregorian calendar has 365 days. Okay, so if you just literally run a year, so 3.5 years on a Gregorian calendar, that would take us to July 20th. You see, so we don't really know exactly the day this is going to go down. And the reason we don't know is because we're at a crux of time, a moment of time which God has stated clearly through several prophets, and also to me, that the day he strikes, nobody will know that day.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody will know that hour, and nobody will know how he did it or what his plan was, because the way he's setting the stage is that there is no counter. Evil will literally be destroyed, smashed on that day. And that opens, it's called like an open heaven. Like that's going to be God opening the door to his kingdom and closing the door to evil. So that'll mark the time when this is like the Red Sea. When the Red Sea opened, that was the opening. That was the glory opening. And then when it closed, it was closed. You couldn't go back after that Red Sea closed. So we're coming into a moment in time where God's going to intervene upon the world somewhere into August 17th.
Got it.
Now I'm saying that because I don't know. I'm just doing the math. That's all I can do, right? And so July, and so far we know the math is dead on perfect because we saw what happened on July 4th with all the mainstream media going anti-Biden. Okay, so far the math is perfect. And now we need to watch what transpires in the next 45 days into August 17th. But August 17th, a new window of time begins. I'm going to repeat that. So as after the middle of August, we're into a new or the next 7 years. That's the cool part. Okay, so we step into the next 7 years starting August, middle of. So how awesome is all of this? But all the pieces are perfectly fitting in place. We just don't know exactly the day, the hour. It's God's secret, but all the pieces are falling into place and everything's falling apart at the same time for them. And so once God intervenes, when we start this next 7-year window, the middle of August onwards, nothing they do will work. And everything they're doing will continue to blow up in their face, fall apart. And that's why we're going to head ultimately into, I believe, what Kim Clement prophesied is they fall and fall, because all of what they've done becomes exposed. And no matter what they do, they will not be able to hide the deals that they did in darkness, because once God intervenes upon the world, it's over. And all they can do is try to hide, flee, but their game is up. So we're at a wild moment in time. Kim Clement also prophesied about 7 years. It says, you have been besieged America by haters of America. Okay, well, let's look at this. Okay, there's your 7 years. It was Trump takes office. By July of 2017, you got all the scandals against Trump, literally, the Russia witch hunt, you can just layer in everything that this literally started July of 2017. And so there is your 7 years of besiegement. The words were this, and you can play a video in a second, but you have been besieged America. You have been besieged means people are working behind the scenes to screw America, okay? You have been besieged America by haters of America for 7 years. But I, the Lord God, will take you out of your besiegement. So let's play this video. And now you've seen the calculations with regard to the Biden presidency. And now this video is going to make extremely a lot of sense to you to understand the timing. Because again, if you understand the timing of events in the world, everything becomes not painful. Everything becomes, a point of awesomeness, because we're just watching how awesome our God is, how he's laid everything out and he's making a way for his bride. Because again, anything of fear is of the devil, and God is making a way for his bride. So go and play this video and you'll get the understanding of what Kim is saying about the 7 years of besiegement and then what happens afterwards.
Yeah, that's great. All right, here we go.
The giants that have come, the brothers of Goliath, stand in glee watching America. We will cripple you. You will lose your credit. And people will become very afraid. I have said I will bring this nation to its knees. And God said, you have been humbled. And then you shall hear the sounds of great victory. For many that have cried out and said, God will destroy this nation. The Spirit says, may I remind you, the covenant that I made with this nation is immutable, is unchangeable. And I created and spoke over this nation to feed the world, to heal the earth. God says, yes, judgment will come, but it shall not come at this time in the fashion that they have spoken. They have said, there shall be a crash and America shall be crippled. God said, not at this time, not at this time, for I have raised you up for a season. And there shall be 7 years where I will take you out of your besiegement. You have been besieged for 7 years, America. You have been surrounded by your internal enemies. Haters of America have stood up, and I will take the wealth of the wicked and for a season transfer it into the hands of the righteous. And
all these people actually believe they're going to get away with it. Because why? They've all been tricked or deceived by who? The great deceiver. God's undefeated. God's letting them walk in, and they're walking into the greatest trap in human history.
I will bring an amount of restoration to this nation, and they shall be taken out of their siege that you've been in for 7 years. And then the songs will come from all over this nation, from young people who deserve to sing my song.
Yeah, that's real good.
There it is. We've been besieged by haters of America for how long? 7 years. And what a coincidence that it's the Daniel 12 verse 7 calculation relative to the presidencies. And Biden completes the cycle on July 4th. We're at a 45-day window into August 17th. So I'm telling you, God's about to intervene. That means what? Earthquakes. I have a high probability of large earthquakes, global, hitting for sure. I would say very high probability in the month of August. So earthquakes, volcanoes, eruptions. Actually, that also correlates with the Kim Clement prophecy. And what did he say? Summer will be the mediator between spring and fall, but summer brings the two E's for Edward. So what are the 2 E's? Earthquakes and eruptions. So there you go. So so high probability, if you want to put the slide back up on page 5, in that 45-day window. So anytime between now into August 15th, or let's say August 17th onwards, but somewhere here in the summertime, because the calculation on the far right side there, starting the 4th, there it is. So right there into August 17th. So we could either start eruptions, the 2 E's, in this 45-day window, or right as August 17th begins and we head forward. But the bottom line is God is going to move because the next 7-year window begins on August 17th. So what does that mean? He goes, I will take you out of your besiegement, and the besiegement ends at the 7-year mark. So even though July 4th ended the 1260-day cycle, the full and complete Daniel calculation does not complete until August 17th.
Yeah, and that 7 years is very interesting, Bo, because we've only had 3.5 of Biden, and so the other 4 was under Trump. And of course, not to say that he was part of it, but he was fighting snakes at every turn in those first 4 years. He couldn't do anything because he had people constantly undermining him. So you're saying
and pause for a second, but it will be, again, take that, it will be. So Trump's presidency ended precisely on January 20th, 2021 at the inauguration. Get it? So it came to an end. And then the new it began was the Biden presidency, and the critical marker was January 20th of 2021 as the exact middle point. Please continue.
Yeah, no, it's just listening to Kim say 7 years, we have to understand how far back that takes us.
It takes us all the way back to July of 2017.
Yeah.
So, and that's literally just a few months after Trump takes office, right?
Right.
But by July, if you go back and check what happened, I was like going back and looking. It wasn't until about the end of June, beginning of July, when all of the attacks began against Trump. So they're strategizing, and right around the end of June into July, they started with the Russiagate and everything else, and Hillary. All of that started to fire up in the month as June was ending and July beginning. What a coincidence! It's the same exact thing happened right here as June was ending and July beginning with Biden.
And those are the the obviously the Democrats going after him, but under siege, he was under siege from all angles. He had a vice president he couldn't trust. He had every single attorney general that he put in there failed him. So, I mean, we talk about being under siege. He was under siege by both sides. And so to hear that 7 years comes to an end and then he comes back into the White House if he wins in 2024, oh my, he's back in power, but the 7 years of being under siege is gone.
Yes, exactly. And it's interesting because from a cycle point, Trump is the builder, so he has to come back to rebuild after a collapse. So we're supposed to see a financial collapse. Now, I'm not talking stock market specifically. I'm talking about the finances of the U.S. dollar. So the federal, not federal, reserve, no reserve, note means it's paper, and the Federal Reserve basically is a bunch of bankers out of London. Okay, so we've been besieged not only for 7 years, but for generations out of England. And so, but it's really in the past 7 years they've really gone gung ho to try to capture the United States, because when you capture the United States, you can pretty much you control the world, and look what you got right now. And so this is literally a time point where, which has been written for hundreds, if not for thousands of years in Revelation. So now we're about to see the fall of Mystery Babylon. So let me describe. So what you're looking at right there on August 17th. So this 45-day window that leads us into August 17th, just to have the viewers understand what this is literally setting the stage for. If you go to page 12, okay. So just so we can get a visual, this is the page 12 will give you the visual of what's about to happen starting August. So we've got 2,500 years go by since this prophecy was given. So that what this was a dream of Nebuchadnezzar. Daniel, the prophet, interpreted via God. He gave all the glory. God gave him the interpretation of Nebuchadnezzar's dream. I reference this regularly because it's so important. Because why? Specifically, what happened was Daniel Daniel was given by God the interpretation for the next 2,500 years. This is like literally the rise, the existence of Babylon, and then Persia, the whole kingdom of Persia, the whole kingdom of Greece, the whole kingdom of Rome, then the papacy. All of this was prophesied 2,500 years ago. And again, the point of the story is God wrote the end from the beginning. That's why he did the prophecy. Mm-hmm. And so what I'm showing is at this mark here in August, based on the U.S. presidency, okay, so as we're now in this 45-day window, all of this has happened so far. So we've got the beast. Everything you're looking at, this is the beast. This is the beast of Revelation. It's Mystery Babylon. And so if you go to the next slide, this is the cool part. Starting August, it gets struck. It falls. So we're about to witness the fall of Mystery Babylon, or the fall of the beast, come here August, maybe July, but August, July, with earthquakes, volcanoes, eruptions, the start of the great wealth transfer, all of this that I'm calculating and showing you, Noah, and the viewers, is specifically when the expectation of Daniel 2 verse 34 is expected to manifest. And what is Daniel 2 verse 34? It means that God intervenes and destroys, takes down Babylon. And I'm going to read Daniel 2 verse 30. It says, while you were watching, which means we get to experience this, a stone, which would be Jesus, was cut out by no human hand. It struck the statue, in other words, the beast, Babylon, on its feet of iron and clay, and smashed it to pieces, and it falls. So Babylon falls. So I would highly suspect the Statue of Liberty is going to come down this year. Maybe I'm just guessing, but I would say that would be a representation of Babylon. Okay. Wow. So all of these images that were created are going to come down. And then Kim Clement actually described in detail what the stone was. And let me read this. I am the stone for this generation. That stone is my son, the rock, Jesus Christ. And that stone shall be given to the Davids of this generation, and they shall break down the forces of hell. So when God intervenes, God is going to anoint like you can't imagine the Davids of this generation, and it's going to be fun to watch. There shall be no world war yet. This is not the tribulation. This is not a time we're going into world war. I promise you they're going to threaten world war. They're going to threaten nuclear war probably this summer. We've got the summer, strange July. So I'm telling you, these are beasts that are pinned up against a wall. So don't be surprised if they come out with a war, nuclear war, threats of, but all of this is going to fall apart. So there shall be no world war yet, for I am yet to show you the manifestation of a rock in the hands of a generation that shall break down the voice of hell. The glory of God that shall cover the earth with knowledge and manifestation as the waters cover the sea. It is yet to come before I return. In other words, this is yet to happen before the return of Christ. And then you are the generation that shall defy death. So what the prophecy is saying that Kim Clement gave specifically was that through the voice and the name and the word of Jesus Christ, through the blood of Jesus, we're going to destroy the voices of hell. And so again, the Statue of Liberty is a Masonic deal. Okay, none of this is about freedom. This was a statue. The history goes back to France, and I did a bunch of work on this a couple years ago. But I'm just telling you, don't be surprised if all these iconic statues or images that represented the United States began to collapse and fall. Why? Because ultimately, nothing that Babylon built is allowed to stand in God's kingdom.
I wanted to throw it on the screen, Bo, when you mentioned the Statue of Liberty. For people who don't know, you're exactly right. They think it's just some great gift from France, and what a great image, and they just created it from scratch. No, as always, it's modeled after some Roman goddess.
Yep.
And named Libertas. So then they claim, it's all about liberty, but that's not what it's about. It's the same image that you see over and over. They put it on the Statue of Liberty. It dates all the way back to all the Greeks and Romans. They put it on that's the Columbia image, and yep. And you can figure out the history of Columbia too. That's that there's a reason why it's called District of Columbia. It's too much to get into right now, but They it's the same image that they've been using for centuries. And so when you say that may be coming down, that would be fascinating. Just like we thought the Georgia Guidestones would never come down, and then all of a sudden we woke up one day and they were gone. Wow, what if this actually comes down? So anyway, I didn't mean to interrupt, but you mentioned that, and I just had to throw it on the screen because that is really interesting stuff there.
Right, and we don't know how this is again all going to play out, but I do know very specifically what was built by Babylon, okay, by these Freemasons. All of it's coming down because it cannot stand in a godly kingdom. Okay, so what's coming is when you go back to that statue, right? When you see the fall of Babylon, it's because Babylon falls because what happens? God's kingdom rises, a new era is birthed. Okay, so there are two things that go hand in hand. When Babylon falls, so look at that image right there. This is the fall of Babylon. That's existed 2.5 or since the time of Nebuchadnezzar, so 2,500 plus years. Okay, so this statue is about to come down for what? For page 18. Click on page 18 and you'll see what happens. So when Babylon falls, you get a birth.
Mm-hmm.
Babylon falls, God's kingdom is birthed on earth. So now let's read Matthew 24 because it specifically states how this goes down. You will hear of wars and rumors of wars. What's going on right now? But see to it that you are not alarmed or deceived. Such things must happen, but the end is still to come. What did Kim Clement just say in the prophecy about the stone? He goes, there shall be no world war yet. Okay, the end is still to come. So this has nothing to do with nuclear war. This has nothing to do with the Great Tribulation and the final battle. No. But the end is still to come. Nation will rise against nation and kingdom against kingdom. There will be famines and earthquakes. Remember Kim Clement, the 2 E's, earthquakes and eruptions in various places. And here it is. All of these are the beginnings of birth pains.
Mm-hmm.
So as a mother gives birth, there is the birth pain. So that's what we're witnessing right now. Mother going through massive birth pains. That's what you're seeing for the past period of time here. And then that suddenly leads to the birth. Now, the birth would be a moment in time when God finally intervenes upon the world and a new era is birthed. Now, what comes with a new era? A new financial system, which means what, Noah? The old must have fallen with Babylon, right? You see, if Babylon was built with what? The Federal Reserve note. So the Babylon was built with a money system made by man. That's what Babylon is. It's all about man-made. So we turned away from God with abortions, had to kill the Creator's creation. We turned away from pull God out of all the churches. All this started in the early 70s, and then in 74, the petrodollar. So hey, we don't even need God's money. We're going to make our own money. Create the cult of petrodollar, right? So all of this manifest in the past 50 years. So now we're stepping into a jubilee. We just literally had, as of June 9th, Saudis, who make up half of the petro contract, decided, hey, we're not going to renew that contract. So you can just do whatever you want, but there's no more petrodollar contract because Saudis didn't renew.
Right. Yeah.
Saudis didn't renew. And this was on the 9th of June. 2 days later, on the 11th, which happened to be Pentecost. We talked this on the last interview. On Pentecost, on the exact day of Pentecost, a Russian sub elevates right off the coast here on the East Coast.
Right.
Okay, why? Because they basically said, we've got subs on the East Coast. Don't you dare try to force or bully Saudi Arabia to renew that contract. That's why there was nuclear subs out there with Russian nuclear subs. Why? Because you and I talked about this. There's a Russia-Saudi contract. Because right after we abandoned Kabul, 9 days later, Saudi signed a military agreement with Russia. So Russia was reinforcing. Listen closely. Russia was reinforcing their Saudi contract on the 11th of June when the sub emerged and their warships emerged on the East Coast, saying, "Don't you dare force Saudis to re-up on that contract." So now there's no re-up on the contract. There's no more petrodollar, and all hell's about to break loose. You got the Biden presidency now falling apart. You just stepped into this 45-day window, and we got the 2 E's, earthquakes and eruptions, right up at our doorstep that are about to happen. When these earthquakes and eruptions manifest, a new energy is expected to be revealed in this earth. So something awesome is supposed to happen. And then that also leads into the great wealth transfer, because why? The great wealth transfer is a matter of collapse of Babylon's financial system and the rise of God's money, gold and silver, which ultimately destroys Babylon. That's how they built it. No other nation is going to be accepting a Federal Reserve notice payment, and they're only going to want gold and silver as payment, and that's going to be the ultimate collapse of this financial system into year end. It's going to be horrible and historically awesome. It depends on whether you think Noah and I are crazy, and those of us that understand scriptures, and whether you believe in prophecy that all and what was written, because all of this has been written for hundreds and thousands of years, and we're about to see all of this manifest. And this then leads to, again, with the fall of Babylon is how they built it with the money. Babylon's money falls. God's money explodes. This will be the writing on the wall, the flipping of the financial scales when Jesus walked into the temple and started just going crazy, righteous anger because of what they were doing in his father's house. They turned his father's house into a den of thieves. So all of this starts now. And then that leads us into this video you got right there about Kim Clement, about Strange July, Summer's the Mediator, earthquakes, the 2 E's. So have a listen to this video. It's pretty fantastic.
Yeah, we talk about this clip a lot, and I just got to realizing that maybe a lot of people haven't actually seen it. So we'll just play it's part of a longer clip. We won't play the whole thing, but we'll play just a little bit. If you've heard Bo talk about Strange July, or Summer being the mediator, or I will make them happy. I think that's Thanksgiving, Christmas time. Let's watch it together, and I think you're really going to enjoy this.
Summer reaches to spring. and to fall. I will be the mediator, says Summer. I will uncover. I will defend. My sun will shine. But yet beneath the earth, there is a rage. Eruptions. Summer says, why choose they me? Why do the tornadoes, the hurricanes choose me? I am summer. I bring smiles. I bring sunshine. I bring warmth. Yet there is a tumultuous rendering that is coming. I stand to protect spring, but fall, you are rebelling. Or is it that possibly the Spirit of God will cause many to fall in fall? Then there is the earth that wishes to tremble. Shake! For the nations of the earth stand waiting. However, there is an uncovering of great evil. And I will start from the top. I have shaken the Democrats and will shake the Republicans even more. But remember, when these tremors and when these tumultuous moments happen, Summer says, I will take it so that the fall can do its work in America. Summer, take it. For thus says the Lord, I will prosper my people. And during the fall there shall be many that shall fall, and many that shall rise from the dust. The earth is standing prepared. I shall take it, for the summer shall bring forth much in the temperatures. Strange July, hypnotic November, and oh Christmas, where winter shall say, and me, I will make them happy. For God says, I have chosen each season to manifest something.
And winter says, I shall make them happy. Strange July, and hypnotic November. All of this ties in perfectly with the month counts starting July. So this is a perfect setup into year end right here, right now. So wild prophecy, how all of this perfectly fits relative to page 19. When you get a chance, you can pop that up. No.
Yeah, we have. You saw the date on the screen there. That was from 2014 when Kim released that, and ever since then, we've watched every year and thought, is this the year? And especially recently, they seem to be getting closer and closer. But so far, it sure looks like 2024 is the year that he was seeing there 10 years ago, and it's just playing out to a T. So. Well, Bo, I know we've got about 10 minutes left, maybe at the most. Take us through the rest of the slides. And I know people especially want to hear about, you just told us a few minutes ago, but you talked about the old financial system, the Federal Reserve note crashing, a new one rising in its place. Where does that leave us for crypto? I know you can't share everything because you've got paid subscribers, but what can you share with us about what we're likely to see next? We're at 57,000 Bitcoin right now. Where are we going?
Okay, so let's go to what, actually, let's just base it some of the prophecy that Kim Clement just literally read right there, was stating. What was Kim saying? Summer is going to be the wealth transfer.
Summer, take it. For thus says the Lord, I will prosper my people.
So expect incredible financial events to go off in summer. So we're in summer right now. Summer doesn't end until something like the middle or 20th something of September. So I'm telling you, something hugely awesome and horrific, because it's always a double-edged sword. When this event goes down, it's going to be horrible and historically awesome. It depends on what side of the fence you're sitting on. You know, if you're locked into the financial world and you only believe in the U.S. financial system, this is going to be a very painful moment in time for you in these next 6 months. What I want viewers to look at here is from the summer. He said summer will be the mediator, but basically everything has a season. That's what Kim said. Everything has a season. So when you look on there in June 20th, okay, that's the starting point. So June 20th, we run 7-month calendar. That takes us precisely to January 20th, 2025. What's January 20th? Well, the inauguration date. What a coincidence, because there aren't any. And if you understand, there was a 6-day war. The 6-day war is a perfect example because the war ended on the 6th day. And the 7th day was a day of rest. Why I'm showing that is because if you look at December just happens to be the 6th month. So whatever goes down here starting in July financially with a financial system will be at a completion point by December, right around Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to be horrific in terms of financially for the world. But at the same time, historic blessings for those who prepared, who are crazy and bought cryptocurrencies, who are crazy and bought silver and gold, you know, a relic, a rock. See, it is a relic. It is a rock until God intervenes and it becomes the most precious, desired item across the entire globe because the financial tables flip. And so what I'm describing right in that event, financial tables flipping, is specifically a worldwide event of what? The third seal of Revelation, the greatest financial event in human history, the flipping of the financial scales, page 14. So seal 3, if you look at the rider, he's black horse, but the rider's got scales in his hands. On the one side of those scales that you're looking at right there, okay, one side of the scale is the dollar. And that's all that's been used. It's literally sitting on all the way down. It's got all the weight. And silver and gold have no weight, so they're way at the top. And that's how the financial system works right now. When God flips the financial scales, the dollar is going to be dethroned as a world reserve currency. It'll lose roughly, page 30, it'll lose roughly 1/3 of its value overnight in the year 2024, this year. So on page 30, you'll see the US dollar. It's a 50-year cycle. Okay, so the $50 bill, 50-year jubilee, thou shalt consecrate the 50th year, proclaim liberty throughout the land. So in the year 2024, the US dollar will be dethroned as a world reserve currency. It will lose 1/3 of its value, possibly overnight. And then for the next, into the end of the decade, expected to eventually go to zero. Oh, that's crazy. Okay, well, the viewers that would say that's never going to happen, please show me one currency or financial instrument in the past 5,000 years that has been made by man that ultimately did not go to zero. Every single financial instrument made by man in the past 5,000 years, every one of them have gone to zero. And so will the US dollar potentially by the end of this decade. So how does that leave us with cryptocurrencies, gold and silver? Well, God's going to flip the financial scales. Possibly July, maybe August, but this summer, okay, let's just say summer rather than July, but I could be in July. Don't be surprised if silver blows 3x, threefold, and goes to $60 to $70, okay? And then 3 digits on silver, and then multiple hundreds of dollars by year end. Why? Babylon fell. Babylon fell. If Babylon fell because it's built on a fake fraud money system, God's money explodes. What does that mean explodes? Explodes in value. It explodes in price. It goes crazy relative to price. Prices unimaginable are coming for precious metals. Why? Because the financial system that we live in and use today is a fraud. It's a complete fraud. Babylon falls, page 32. The kings of the earth will weep and wail. This will be a moment of historically devastating time point for the ones that rule the world. Why? Because they just met the hand of God. It's going to change. Page 33, everything goes dark. So we're going to go dark. What that means, I don't know. But don't be surprised if things go dark. internet, TVs, everything goes dark. I don't know the day this goes down because God's not revealing it to anybody, not even any of the prophets, no one, because no one even knew that the Red Sea would part until it parted. You see, that was a checkmate move for Pharaoh, was that Red Sea. So we're coming into a checkmate, and that leads us into the return of Trump. That leads us into, especially he comes back to rebuild, but he's going to have to come back to rebuild after the collapse. So the cycles are saying that anytime, say by the end of this year into January, he should be back because he's got to rebuild. So I don't know how this plays out, but I know he's coming back. Period. You can't stop what God has ordained. And that leads us into cryptocurrencies, gold and silver, on page 41. And why I reference that is because when financial system, it's going to be a black swan event. The financial system is going to be destroyed as you know it. The way we transact will change forever. Okay, that doesn't mean money goes to zero. It means that the Federal Reserve System, the way we transact, and that specifically relates to bonds. Okay, because the U.S. dollar is basically it's a bond system. Everything is bonded, and so all of these bonds, the mortgages, student loans, all of this begins to blow up, which leads to the collapse of the entire financial system as we know it here in the United States. So we're going to have a new transactional instrument, and wow, lo and behold, every single time a financial instrument collapses, what does the world revert to? Gold and silver, because it's been money for thousands of years. The only difference this time around is cryptocurrencies, because we didn't have these before. And so remember, mainstream media, including all banks and bankers, this is how you know you're on the right side of the fence, because all bankers and global institutions, that run the world, they all say they've all called Bitcoin dead. I think they're around 300 to 400 times right now. Okay, but yet Bitcoin went from $1 to $60,000 right now. Okay, so Bitcoin's not dead. It's actually it's almost $60,000. If it was dead, it'd be zero. Okay, so. And then when the banking institutions say that Bitcoin's a fraud, it's used for child trafficking, everything that they say that it is what they do. Their financial system is a fraud. They create it out of thin air. They make as much money as they want. They control humanity with their fake money. And so because this time around we got cryptocurrencies, the problem we're going to have, it's very important to listen to. The problem the world's going to have is because when this event goes down, gold and silver, especially silver, is going to get sold out in a single day. It's going to be very hard in the future to get silver. So whether it's a single day, whether it's in a few days, but within a week's period of time, I believe all above ground silver is going to be sold out, probably gold too. Yep. And because it'll be sold out, it'd be very hard to get from that moment on into the future. So you'll still be able to get some, but small amounts. But I believe it's just going to go. There's that word we've kind of joked about, unobtainium, probably what silver is going to become. And so you're going to have very difficult time getting precious metals once this event goes down, because people come to realize the U.S. financial system was a fraud, and therefore globally everybody's going to want gold, and especially silver. Now, the problem with that is because you will not be able to get precious metals, it'll be very difficult to get them in the future. Once the event happens, it'll be hard to get large amounts of it, because there's been so much money created, this fake money. We're talking like just on the collapse of 2020. Remember the 38% market crash in March of 2020? They create $7 trillion over a weekend to put back in the market. Like, do you understand the magnitudes of these monies they're creating out of thin air? Why are home prices so expensive? Because they create money out of thin air. To be buying real estate now is crazy, because when this financial system blows up, the bonds blow up, we're going to have the biggest, there's going to be sellers globally. They're going to try to sell anything and everything real estate, because everyone's going to need cash. So it's going to be everything the way we understand it right now is about to change forever. And so then that leads me, if you can't get gold and silver, guess what everybody's going to be buying next, Noah?
Crypto.
Big cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin, and the good cryptocurrencies, Ethereum. There's a handful of really, really good ones out there. And so the world will be pouring money into cryptocurrencies, because you will not be able to get precious metals. Or if you can get precious metals, it'll be in small quantities. That's why they're called precious metals because they're precious. You can't go in the ground and mine silver and have a coin made the next day. There's a whole process to this, and it takes a long time to mine precious metals. So because of the amount of money supply, they're all just going to disappear. And you'll be able to get little small quantities here and there. But there's still a vast, vast, vast ocean of money out there. And that ocean of money is going to be piling into cryptocurrencies. So those who don't understand what cryptocurrencies are, you're going to find out. And you're going to very soon want to get involved in it because you're going to want to transact, buy things in different states or buy things overseas. And globally, the world will not be accepting the Federal Reserve notice payment. So if you've got a crypto wallet, you'll be able to pay for things with a click of a button off your phone and buy things because transactions don't end. Just the way we transact changes forever. Mm-hmm. Transactions will not end. Just the way we transact will change forever. So I hope that gives the viewers an understanding of what's about to happen. But we are at a wow moment in time based on the Daniel 12 verse 7 calculation. So something between the 4th of July, in the month of July into the August 17th of this year. That 45-day window is a very important transition point. We've played the Kim Clement prophecies about a wealth transfer in summer, about the 2 E's, earthquakes and eruptions. So all of this is afoot here, which then leads us into a historic fall where God opens the door for his kingdom and closes the door for evil. And what God opens and God closes, no man can change. Yeah. And so this is going to be a wild moment in time, starting July into strange July, into hypnotic November, into December, Christmas, and then that starts 2025 with rebuilding. So January 2025 is a rebuild phase.
Yeah, that's great. Well, we've got to wrap this up here, everybody. But I've got on the screen there, if you want more information on crypto, especially if you want Bo's newsletter, where he gives you all of his turn dates. He gives you updates every couple of days. It's really great. I've been getting it for several years. That's where he gives you a lot more detail. It tells you when we're looking toppy, when we're looking like we're at the bottom, that type of stuff, and what price targets. He just did an update recently where he kind of puts the different targets that he has for the various coins. So if you're interested in that, you go to gold2020forecast.com. Links on the screen there. I'll put the link below the video as well. Make sure that you get a discount. So if you want to sign up for that, that's the only thing that Bo charges for. Otherwise, he comes on the show and gives all this away for free, which we really enjoy every time he comes on. But if you want to sign up for this, you can get 50% off when you just type in the promo code WLT49. And then the other thing that he has, if you're one of those people, and I mention this every time because I hear from people all the time that love this. If you're saying, I've heard about crypto, I've been putting it off because it's intimidating to me, or I don't understand it, or I'm scared I'm going to do something wrong, then you need to get this. It's Bo's Easy Crypto School. It's going to take you from step one of not knowing anything about crypto to understanding how to buy it, store it safely. Don't make mistakes. Don't fall into scams. Don't send it to the wrong place and lose it, that type of stuff. So do it all safely. That's at theeasycryptoschool.com. And same thing with that one. Make sure you get a discount. Type in WLT49. You'll get 50% off when you sign up for that. So, Bo, I know you've got a heart out here. You got to get rolling. Busy day for you. But listen, thank you so much for coming on. Let me turn this off. Let me put you on right here. Really enjoy hearing from you. It's always a pleasure to have you on the show. And we'll have you back in a couple weeks and get a big update. We'll be mostly through that strange July. I think we're going to have a lot to talk about. And then we'll be heading into fall. And it's just going to be an incredible year. So I'm excited. And just want to say thanks for taking time and joining us today.
Thanks, Noah. I appreciate it. God bless you. God bless all of your viewers. It's going to get wild because a wild beast, Babylon, is pinned into a corner and all hell's about to break loose. So we expect wars, rumors of wars, but see to it that you are not alarmed. The end is not yet. These are the beginnings of birth pains, and it is going to be an awesome finish to the year. So God bless everybody. I hope you have listened. I hope you're prepared for what's about to happen. But whatever happens, all eyes on Jesus, not on the craziness going down in the world. So thank you, and God bless.
That's a perfect way to end it. Thanks, Bo. We'll see ya.